Purim Sameach from Ramot. There's a famous saying in the Babylonian Talmud regarding Purim that we all know. One should, chayav adam, chayav inish levisume, a person must drink till ad delo yada bein arur Haman lebaruch Mordechai, till he won't be able to differentiate between cursed is Haman and blessed is Mordechai. Now we all ask, what's the point in this? Why should we reach a stage where we don't know the truth that Mordechai is blessed and Haman is cursed? Why do we need to drink so much till we're confused? I always wanted to relate it to another saying of Rava in the Babylonian Talmud. He said that while the Torah was accepted by us on Sinai out of coercion, we fixed that at the Purim time when we accepted the Torah, re-accepted the Torah again out of free will, out of love. I think the relationship between the two statements goes the following. Actually, if we're reading carefully the Hebrew in the first statement that we said, it's chayav inish levisume ad lo yada bein arur Haman lebaruch Mordechai. It's not that you need to reach a point that you're confusing the two. It's just that you should say it not out of knowledge. You should say it from your bones, without the control of the knowledge, trying to say the right things among the people, among the society. Rather, you're drunk. Now you don't care about anything. So you're really saying, nichnas yain yatsa sod. You're saying the secrets. And what is going out of you as a secret, as the deepest thing in your soul, you're saying the truth. You're saying, blessed is Mordechai and cursed is Haman. So you must drink till you don't know the difference between them, but you're still saying the difference without the control of knowledge. That's a great commemoration of accepting the Torah out of free will, even though you didn't see the hand of Hashem clearly, but you chose out of your free will to accept the Torah and to say, God made me a miracle. We should educate ourselves all year round so that when we reach Purim and we're out of control, we'll still say the right thing, we'll still feel the right thing, and declare, blessed is Mordechai and cursed is Haman. Purim Sameach.
Purim Sameach from Ramot Bet. Rav Nosson of Breslov, the primary student of Rabbi Nachman, writes in his Sefer Lekutei Halachos that Purim, the holiday of Purim, is milashon pirurim, which means crumbs. What could that possibly mean? So I'd like to suggest, at least for this year, that Amalek, the concept of Amalek, which comes specifically to attack those who are nechshalim acharecha, those who are stumbling in the back, those who are having a little bit of a harder time. The concept of Amalek is to say that if you can't be perfect, you might as well not do anything. Amalek says, Lo yira elukim, you don't have full fear of heaven, don't even try to do anything. You're not going to finish all of Shas, why even start Daf Yomi? This is what the Avodas Yisrael of Kajnitz explained, that Amalek, when the pasuk says, Zachor asher asal lecha Amalek. Remember, not just Amalek, but asher asal lecha Amalek, that Amalek made you a little bit Amalek. That Amalek turned you into a person who says that if you can't do everything, you shouldn't do anything. Purim is the antithesis of Amalek's mentality, where we say pirurim, little crumbs, can come together to make a very large, huge challah. I remember when I was in 5th grade, I had a teacher named Rabbi Selengut who had a jar of marbles on his desk. And anytime somebody would ask a good question or make a comment that was worthy in his eyes, he would take a marble and he'd put it in the jar. And when the jar became full and the marbles slipped out from the jar, there was no more room, everybody in the room would go back to a closet, unlock it, and give everybody a candy. And when I was older, I learned in one of the Svarim HaKadoshim from the Tzaddikim of Ger that the question which really is at the root of a lot of our struggles in Avodas Hashem, if Rabbi Akiva and David HaMelech and the Rambam and the Vilna Gaon and the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh and the Chafetz Chaim and all of the tzaddikim throughout all the generations couldn't bring the Geula. So then how are we going to bring the Geula? And what I learned from Rabbi Selengat in my 5th grade class is that we're not in this by ourselves. That the Rambam already put lots of marbles in the jar. And Rabbi Akiva already put lots of marbles in the jar. And the Chafetz Chaim put lots of marbles in the jar. And all Hashem is waiting for us to do is take a few more pirurim, a few more crumbs, a little bit of believing in ourselves, a little bit of the koach of Purim, and to put those final marbles into the jar and to cross the finish line. It's not something that we have to do on our own. The only thing we have to do is to believe in the koach of our pirurim, of our crumbs. And this is a little bit what the holiday of Purim is all about. Wishing you a Chag Purim Sameach from here in Ramot.
Purim Sameach from Ramot Yerushalayim. A fundamental part of Purim is Megillas Esther. And it's interesting that it's a mitzvah that we perform both at night and at day. Most mitzvahs, specifically reading a Megillah, we do in the morning. It's a mitzvah hayom. Why are we reading the Megillah at night as well? And also, why is it called Megillas Esther? Yes, Esther is a fundamental character in the story, but what about Mordechai? Why specifically Megillas Esther? And I think the answer can be found in a pasuk that we read in the Megillah. A pasuk that we're very familiar with, Layehudim haisa ora v'simcha v'sasam v'yikar, that the Jews were filled with simcha, happiness, with light, with joy, and splendor. And what is this pasuk teaching us? And the Gemara Megillah teaches us that this is referring to 4 different mitzvos. That ora is referring to Torah, that simcha is referring to yantif, that sasan is referring to milah, and yakar is referring to tefillin. And the Sfas Emes asks a question: why is the Megillah speaking in code? If the Megillah wants to teach us that the Jews were filled with these mitzvos, so tell us the Jews had Torah, they had yantif, they had milah, and they had tefillin. What's going on over here? And the Sfas Emes explains an unbelievable yesod, which is telling us what Purim is all about. The Sfas Emes is telling us that on Purim there was some sort of revelation that took place in the Jewish people where they were able to understand the true meaning of life. That when the Megillah tells us that the Jews had Ora, Simcha, Sasan, Vikar, what the Megillah is teaching us is the real names of these mitzvos. That at that moment on Purim, when we realized that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was involved in everything, every part of the story, every detail of what took place, we realized the truth of everything. We realized that Torah is not Torah. Torah is Ora, Torah is light. And Yantif is not just a day that we celebrate with our family and eat good food, but it's simcha, it's real simcha, it's our real joy, and so on and so forth with milah and with tefillin. And that's what Purim is all about, revealing the truth in life. And perhaps we can use this concept to understand why we read the Megillah at night and why it's called Megillas Esther. That just like we reveal the true meaning of mitzvos and Torah, we're also revealing the difficulties in life and what they really mean. That many times in our lives when we go through darkness and confusion, frustration and despair, we sometimes become very confused and say, what's going on with my life? What's happening? And what Purim teaches us is that every detail, at every moment of the Megillah, when things seemed dark and in despair, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was right there guiding us and leading us to real redemption and light. The person who was able to see this the most was Esther. Esther was by herself. Esther was alone. She was in isolation and feeling the most despair of anybody. And therefore, when the revelation, when the miracle takes place, it's Esther who feels the greatest simcha, and she's the one who's able to show us the greatest light because she was in the greatest darkness. And therefore, it's called Megillas Esther. It's called Megala HaHester. It's revealing that which is hidden. That's what Esther's message is. It's she who teaches us this message, and that's the message of Purim. And that's why we read the Megillah at night. It's nice to read it in the day when everything's going well and the sun's out, the lights are out, and we don't feel scared or confused. But it's at night when it's dark. It's at that time that we start Purim and we say, we understand what this darkness is all about. This is a very interesting Purim we have this year because some of us may be by ourselves this Purim. Some of us may not be able to come to shul. Some of us may not be able to give shalach manos and hear the Megillah and fulfill all the mitzvahs hayom. But perhaps those of us who find themselves by themselves realize that maybe you are able to fulfill the mitzvah of Purim more than anyone else. You are able to be the Esther in 2020. You're the person who maybe Hashem is speaking to, and all that darkness, that confusion, the isolation, and feeling all alone, realize that if you can overcome that, if you could have the glasses of Esther, if you could be Megala Esther, if you could reveal the hidden things that are taking place in our personal lives, then you too can fulfill the mitzvah of Simchas Purim. And perhaps you can fulfill it to the greatest potential that all of us can achieve. And I want to wish everybody a Purim Sameach, a healthy Purim, and let's reveal that light in the darkness. And when we do that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will reveal His light in this darkness and bring a binyan Beis HaMikdash Mimher v'Yameinu Amen v'Amen. Purim Sameach.
מי שנכנס אדר מרבים בשמחה